started as trying to indoctrinate, if I can use that word, my kids, and introduce my kids to what it meant to be Jewish, what it meant to be part of a community, what it meant to be giving. The person who was the most supportive and the biggest role model was Herb, because he was born philanthropic. I think he had the gene.
Carol has been so involved in all aspects of our community. She's been active in social services, she's been active in the arts, in science, in all of the every Jewish organization in town that I can think of, Carol has been involved. And when I say she's involved, she gives money, but she gives time, she gives advice, and she mentors people. And so she's been very important.
Before there was Federation, there was UJA, and she was running the organization through a little office in Hillel, and we would have meetings on Sunday morning over her house to discuss some of the important issues and talk about who we were going to solicit.
Carol Amster is the essence of the Jewish community in Ann Arbor. Carol was a key figure at the beginning of the Jewish community 25 or 30 years ago, when it really began to organize as a Jewish community beyond the scope of simply a congregation or two. She remains a moving force in the Jewish community of Ann Arbor.
Carol understood the importance of the mission of the Community Foundation, that we were really here doing important work for the long term. And I think that really resonated with Carol, because Carol really likes to build and sustain things, and that's what the Community Foundation is all about.
Well, Carol was a great member of the UMS board. In fact, she's a member of the Senate now. You know, we don't put them out to pasture, we put them on the Senate when they end our board. But she could always be counted upon to speak her mind. She was always very curious. She would often ask why about things.
Holocaust Memorial Foundation goes back close to 20 years, and Carol was one of the leaders of the small group, and the intent was to have a very special and lasting memorial, a Holocaust memorial on campus. With Carol's perseverance, I must say, she knew who to contact in the community, she knew where to find that extra dollar.
Both she and I have a deep belief that if you don't take care of the people on the fringes of your community, the young children, the elderly, and the poor, or the disadvantaged, you're not a real community.
Friendship means 100% loyalty. It means loving somebody no matter what they do or don't do.
I think she's particularly perceptive about me, but I bet you everybody in the community says the same thing. There was a time when Israel was at war. My family had a completely different perspective on the war, and I found it very hard. Carol knew when we were coming home. On the way home, she called me on my cell phone in the car, and she said, why don't you come for dinner? I bet it's been really hard for you with your family. And I will bring tears to my eyes now, and I realized she knew what I was going through. I never said a word to her about it.
We met the Amsters because they were our backyard neighbors. My husband was from Brooklyn, and he was delighted to discover that the Amsters were both from Brooklyn. Jerry had gone to Brooklyn College, as had Carol, and he actually had dated some of Carol's sorority sisters, which was another link between the families. When I had problems with my husband because of his illness, Carol was there for me. She was loyal, she was there all the time, she helped me through a lot of trouble. So Carol was a loyal, a true friend.
My bond with Carol really was strengthened after both of our husbands died. Carol really supported me and was a true mentor to me, teaching me how to be a widow. I learned from Carol how one can be courageous, how one can be brave, and how one can go on and really honor the memory of someone that one loves so dearly and still be a widow at the same time. Carol was extraordinary to me during the early days of my being a widow. To this day, she truly is a hero for me in teaching me how one can honor someone's memory and at the same time move on in life.
I was a dancer as a child, and I was, as a beginning tennis player, very interested in looking right. You don't always hit the ball if you look right. So I am impatient, I am beautiful, and I am impatient with myself, not with my fellow players.
I first met Carol Amster on the tennis court, and unfortunately she was not my partner. It was a doubles game and she was on the other side, and she had me running all over the court. That woman could put that tennis ball anywhere, and I remember thinking, who is this person?
I had always taken dance lessons as an adult, as a child and as an adult, and so when we when we moved to Jackson, I thought, oh great, this would be a continuation, and my friend Edra and I went to take lessons, and Miss Vickery took one look at the two of us, and she looked at our dark hair. We both had black hair, and she said, aha, my Spanish dancers.
We all, from time to time, perhaps need a little retail therapy, and Carol is no different. And she has been known to get in the car and go with a few buddies out to Hirsch's in West Bloomfield, where she smiles when she walks in and they smile when she walks out.
Carol is funny. She is honest. She's straight.
Compassionate, caring, charitable, creative.
Fearless, although she wouldn't say fearless, but she just plunges into things. Giving, gracious.
And I think about Carol, I think about clarity. I think about integrity. I think about generosity.
Loyal, supportive, candid, tenacious, kind, regal.
Loyal, she's true, she's vocal, she's opinionated, she's determined, she's interesting, she's smart, she is fun to be with.
She's energetic, she's tenacious, she's ambitious, she's driven, she's generous, she's kind. She's just one of the most amazing women I've ever met.
Why did I choose JFS over the myriad of other organizations and requests that I had to use the Amster name, Herb's name in particular? It's really a no-brainer. My feelings about what I wanted out of a naming opportunity for him was not just using his name. I needed to have what he stood for and what he believed in promoted, more so than this is the Herbert S. Amster, what have you. And JFS is the place. It's what he would have wanted, and they will keep his memory and who he was alive as a beacon and as a guide and as a legacy.
The symbol for lupus, the disease that Herb died from, is the butterfly. And the reason for that is because patients with lupus tend to get a particular rash, and it's called the butterfly rash, and that's because it's manifest with a rash that happens around the face, around the eyes and the nose, and it's in the shape of a butterfly. Well, one day Carol was walking with other supporters for lupus in a walk specifically to support lupus, and she was walking with a hat that had the butterfly symbol on its back. And one day somebody tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Carol, there's a butterfly on your hat." And she said, "Well, of course, because that's the symbol for lupus." But they said, "Carol, there's a real butterfly on your hat." And she said, "Really? Well, that must be Herb. He must be here with me today, supporting me." And I realized then that Herb was with Carol, but he's also with all of us here to support us in our community. And I just felt that it was such a true tribute to him and to Carol and to all of us.